Well, welcome to episode 57 of Talking Small Press Comics with Steve Keeter, myself, and our special guest, Byron Black, is here today from the Steppenwolf Chronicles. So we are pretty excited about that. So
hello there.
There you go. Get your motor running.
Yeah.
I know it's not that Steppenwolf, but it's still cool.
Yeah, well, we forgot about him, yeah. So I guess we'll jump right in. You want to ask first question, Steve?
Right now I'm admiring the background of Byron.
Oh, look at that. He got a couple of books.
It looks like he's got a lot of graphic novels and stuff like that in the background.
Yeah.
That's the sign of a true creative person, that you have all these influences, but yet you have your own style as well. And I see that in your comics. And I got this one. And I have this one. I think Larned, these are the reboot, as you call it. But I think Larned has the older issues, which I used to have. Unfortunately, during a series of several moves, some stuff was lost, and I'm afraid I can't find them anymore. Yeah, there were 4 Larned?
4.
Yeah, there was 4.
Yeah, 1, 0, 3, and 4.
There was 4, Byron?
Yep. And this is the one, this is the very first one, number 1.
I definitely had that one.
That's the one that hooked me. He hooked me with this one.
Yeah, right away that cover stands right out. That's pretty awesome.
The whole issue is just great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say that I mean, I can't make any promises right now. I'm working on it, but I'm figuring on reprinting these in a collected volume for anyone who's interested. I mean,
that would be awesome. Really,
it's not really relevant to what I'm doing now completely, since I've rebooted the whole series. But I mean, I know there's a few people that have asked, and I've been scanning the old books that I have. I don't have the original art anymore.
Really?
Don't ask me why. I mean, it's but anyway, I've been getting. I think I've been getting some decent scans of the books I've got. So I'm hoping maybe I might use Amazon's self-publishing platform to maybe reprint all these in a single volume. So we'll see.
I think that'd be a great idea. Really.
We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens, how it works out. So
I'm definitely interested. I would check out those earlier issues. I definitely would. And I'm sorry that I don't have the old copies. Larned does. Maybe I can get Larned to copy those for me. But if you publish a compilation, I'm all in on that.
If Byron's going to do it, you're just going to have to pay to get it.
That's right.
I do have it on my a website where I have scanned it. But I know some people, I mean, like me, I like to have a physical copy. I'm old school.
Oh yeah,
me too.
For sure.
Yeah. So I mean, internet comics, they're like here today, and you watch them, and then they're gone, and that's it. You
got to have the book in your hand.
You got to have the book, and it's just not. It's not the same. You have a physical copy of a great comic like this.
Yeah.
And these are great comics. I got to commend you.
Thank you.
Just the artwork is gorgeous. There's a lot of action in these, but there's a lot going on. There's a lot of it's like you'd think, because the dialogue is rather sparse here and there, but the story is very complicated. It's not a simple story.
Right.
But it's told in a leisurely style, where the story you go as it goes along, you're just following it, and but you see these pages, some pages are practically wordless.
Yeah.
Like this one.
Yeah. Just action.
Yeah, I try not to get really verbose like Stan Lee would during a fight. Even having the characters make these big speeches. And,
right. You're in the middle of a fight and they're talking. That's not. Not real.
I enjoy them, but it's not the way I would do things. I guess.
Right.
Well, let me ask you a question. Getting back to the beginnings of Steppenwolf, for people that don't know. I got notes because I can't remember anything. Steppenwolf is not. You say that he's not inherently evil, but he is trying to accomplish, or what? My question is, what is he trying to accomplish? What is his mission, especially in the early development of the story?
Well, I think maybe there's a lot of mixed signals as far as maybe what I was trying to do early on. Maybe that's maybe reflective more of me as a person, I guess, at that time. But I guess, you know, he was just portrayed him as an outcast, you know, trying to reconcile himself with the world, and being also at the same time being at odds with the world. So there was a lot of inner conflict there, and you know, maybe in that regard there's some inconsistency, especially early on. I think I was trying to move away from that in the early series, you know, making him a little bit more benign. I guess in the initially, I guess you can kind of compare him a little bit to maybe like the Submariner. You know, you just have a chip on his shoulder as far as, you know, the world, and, you know.
Yeah, it can be seen as a hero. It can be seen as not a hero.
Yeah, he's kind of an anti-hero and kind of not.
Yeah, I think I came up with the label of anti-villain as a kind of a play on the anti-hero concept.
Anti-villain, I mean, he speaks of the world as being ravaged by war and says he is waiting for the right moment to strike and enact his own vengeance.
Yeah.
And
well,
vengeance for what?
I think just the way he was treated. I think we see later in issue 0, you know, gives us his backstory there about how he was treated and exploited. And
I remember that one, the issue 0. I actually do remember that.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, I guess trying to maybe right the wrongs he were committed against them is basically, I think, where I was going with that at the time.
It's only 30 years ago, so, you know, you
I'm going to go back to the beginning, because we kind of jumped into the middle of it here.
Well, I was trying to get to the beginning a little bit there.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, I mean, Larned and I both came up with our questions. You know, we're not going strictly by the questions. You see, Larned's are handwritten. That's because he doesn't know how to type.
I typed them all out, all completely out, and then erased the file accidentally. And then I got mad and said, I'm not typing it again.
Oh, gosh, you hate when that happens.
Yeah.
So anyway, how long have you been creating your own comics? Was there something before the Steppenwolf Chronicles? What were your inspirations?
Well, yeah, I mean, I was dabbling with comic books since I was maybe a kid, you know, doing little stories. I didn't actually have anything published. I think I had a 6-page story published by a friend in a fanzine in the mid to late 80s. And I did maybe some 1 or 2 page stories that saw print in a local fan club, science fiction fan club here. But the Steppenwolf Chronicles was my really first self-publishing effort. I started it, I think, in '93 maybe. I was aware that there was a small press or fan press out there. I'd heard about it. I wasn't really didn't have any way of connecting to it because this was before the internet. And so I was pretty green about how to go about doing things. I was just drawing on these sketch pads, and it was just really bad paper. You couldn't ink on it. It would bleed so badly. So I took the pencil art and photocopied it, enlarged it on 11 by 17 paper, and used the ballpoint pen to ink with.
That's amazing.
Oh wow!
And that first issue I did, I think I was kind of following a little bit of Basil Wolverton's style with his line work.
Interesting you should say that, because I am currently working on a comic kind of after Basil Worthington, I can't say his name, Basil Worthington's style.
But yeah, he just had that very involved line work, and it was by the next issue, issue 0, that I started. That's when I was being kind of mentored by an artist friend of mine, Pat or Angel Gabriel.
I know you mentioned him.
He was a pro artist, so he was giving me a lot of help as far as guidance. And so I started using actual comic book paper, blue line paper, about that time, and I was using micron pens to ink with. So I was doing. I haven't worked with a brush. I'm too afraid to.
I don't use a brush either.
I like having control of the lines. So.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's when you'll see a change in the style. I was using a lot more black area, heavy blacks as far as shading. And also I started taking on a more Kirby-esque approach to my drawing style, since Jack Kirby's been one of my favorite artists, probably
mine too,
as long as I can remember. I mean,
he was the king.
Yeah, and he's what really inspired me, I think, to really pursue this. I mean, the characters themselves, Steppenwolf and Clark Albion and the rest, they're all based or derived from Captain America and the Red Skull. I mean, they're my, versions. I pretty seriously departed from the source materials, I think, enough that kind of establishes them as my own. I mean, I don't know if I didn't say that's what they were based on, may not be easily recognizable. So
well, you can see the influence, of course, but you make it your own. I mean, I do see, like, if you look at Roland Steppenwolf, there's almost like MODOK, in the old Captain Americas.
Yeah, I was impressed with characters like that with the enlarged brains, like MODOK or the Leader.
Yeah,
that's something that kind of evolved as I was in my original series, that it kind of evolved like that. I mean, the characters I started developing back in the 80s when I was in high school, and it just kind of grew until about, like I said, when I started around 93 is when they started all kind of coming together in this comic book.
Okay. And I can see that the characters they're in sync with you. They're very appreciative. You see, there's a
they're right there with him.
Actual photograph of you surrounded by some of your characters.
Yeah, great.
That was actually a revised self-portrait I did back years ago for an interview that Walter Sublotny III sent me for a zine that he was doing.
Very well done.
Cool.
And,
I started to update it. So
I did notice something, and this is in issue 3. That your style kind of changed with issue 3.
Yeah.
Not as much line work.
Right.
And I guess that was intentional. You just wanted.
Yeah, I was just kind of developing my style.
These don't have quite all the line work that the 2 earlier issues had.
Right. I mean, it's I think it makes the art kind of pop out a little bit more with the contrasting with the white in the black areas.
Right. Yeah.
All the line work I was doing originally, it made it a little bit harder to distinguish things, especially since I was using a ballpoint pen. Everything had the same line thickness.
That's unbelievable. But you achieved great results with a ballpoint pen, and to see something like that,
I mean
that's quite
honestly,
an
the first 2 issues, like I said, hooked me. And then I noticed the difference here, and I'm going, I kind of like the other style.
Yeah, well, I think that's just part of being an artist. You're experimenting, developing as you go along.
Yeah. I'm sure the first 2 are a lot more work. Whew.
Yeah, it
looked like it.
Yeah, back then, I mean, it took me about a year. I mean, nowadays it takes me so much longer, just because I guess maybe life's more involved to a certain extent. It seemed like it was a lot easier back in the day.
And more time to do it, you mean?
Yeah, right,
Mhm.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, you get busy and the art takes a back seat for a while, I know.
Yeah, right.
All
I
right,
was
let's
just,
see. What else did I have here?
well, I mean, the new series, which began in 2017, and apparently a lot of heart, a lot of soul, a lot of work goes into this, something that can't be rushed. So there was like 6 issues between the last issue and this one. Um, is that that's just because you are you extremely busy, or you just want to make sure everything's perfect? Because
I think I think it's a matter of both. You know, I
Mhm.
mean, trying to carve out time to work on this, and then I'm really particular. I, I tend to agonize over every little word or line, probably way too much. I mean, there's some guys, I really appreciate, like Joseph Morris, who you can just crank out some really entertaining work
right,
at a
Joe.
Oh,
breakneck pace.
every day.
And, and
Yeah.
I kind of wish I could, or Tony Lawrence, who,
Oh,
who
yeah.
Oh,
he's just a machine. He just comes
yeah,
out.
Yeah, just go,
absolutely.
go, go.
Yeah,
And
And
it's never for him.
I've asked
He
Tony
does
to
it for
do stuff
everybody
for me.
else.
I asked Tony to do stuff for me. I said, "Can you do the art on this or that?" And he says, "Well, I've got 6 or 7 other projects that I'm working on."
yeah,
He says,
Yeah.
"But I'll do my best. I'll fit it in. I'll fit it in." So he's
He's
extremely prolific.
amazing.
and the guy
Amazing.
works an amazing amount of hours on a job too. So I don't know how he
Oh my
finds the
gosh,
time
yeah.
to
I don't know
do
how
all
he does it.
that. But me, I guess too, like a lot of artists, you kind of, there's a lot of self-doubt, second guessing yourself. Well, do I want to do it this way? And you dither about it. And then you finally go back to your original idea, and then it works out. It just,
The dialogue has always got me too. I just love the dialogue. When
Right.
Steppenwolf would say blood and then
yeah.
go on to whatever he was going to say. I mean, how did you come up with that kind of thing?
I think I borrow from a lot of things I've read or
Really?
seen.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
there's a lot of references in my work that that inspire me, that some may be not so obvious.
Hmm.
But yeah, I kind of, sometimes it's a challenge to myself to see how many Easter eggs I can cram into a particular story
Yeah.
or page.
Yeah.
Just looking at this, and like this, a lot of it's very profound. And here's a panel here where Roland Steppenwolf is saying the temptation to be mad, bad, and dangerous to know as I am perceived has been a dire struggle as the world tasks me. Nevertheless, I have chosen a different path. And this is interesting because there's a religious element to this.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I,
I guess he becomes a Christian at this point. And
yeah, I think I'm trying to use that to more is faith. I was kind of developing that in the original series, but
Hmm.
I think there was just some inconsistencies, maybe a reflective of my own self, that Wendy
yeah,
wasn't coming through quite the way I wanted. But part of this reboot, I think, is trying to maybe develop that aspect of his character with a little bit more consistency.
yeah. And it makes him real. It makes him,
Yeah.
well, human in a sense. He's a creature. He's a person of faith. And I mean, Larned mentioned it. He's not really an evil person, and
No.
he's definitely not.
No.
Nor is his adversary, friend Herzog. Although
Hmm.
Herzog doesn't have the faith element, but and there
Oh
he
yeah,
is.
that's Dr. Saint Germain. He's
Oh, that's Dr.
Yeah.
Saint Germain. I'm
Hmm.
sorry.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's a little bit more of a, I guess, amoral, not really good or bad. He's just more driven by science or knowledge.
Yeah. This is Herzog.
Yeah,
Right?
right.
Yeah. The impersonator or whatever. Yeah.
He's yeah, he along with the rest of the world, I think, kind of hold Steppenwolf responsible. Even, I mean, yes, to an extent he was, but he was more as far as what happened. I'm kind of intimating there on that page that maybe Herzog's family suffered or were lost as a part of the great conflagration that was unleashed.
Whoops, you disappeared. Oh, there you are. Okay.
But
You know,
that's more hinted at there, I guess, in that panel rather than fully explained. But
I think Clark Albion is an interesting character, and I wrote this down because Steppenwolf and Clark Albion were both inmates in the prison colony in Antarctica.
yeah, that was
And Albion feels he needs to stop Steppenwolf. Can you elaborate a little bit on what Albion is seeing in Steppenwolf?
Well, I think originally, he maybe saw him as maybe misguided or going the well intentioned, but not going in the right direction. So I think maybe he's trying to act as more of a
yeah, there he is.
Kind of trying to influence him maybe a little bit. And now in the reboot, I kind of changed things around. He's kind of a man without a past. Clark Albion here, at least, is a man without a past. He had this accident that Steppenwolf, recovered, healed him from, and then the newest issue, that one page in there, he has a dream sequence where maybe some memories that have been lost are kind of filtering their way up into his forethoughts. Not all of it really making sense, but just some different images there that kind of giving some clues as to maybe his background.
Yeah, an interesting character.
Yeah.
They're both Clark Albion and Barnabas Bratner, and they're both the results of the experiments that Roland Steppenwolf did many years ago. And
Barnabas Bratner he's probably got the greatest makeover from the original series. Really reinvented him. He's I think I was kind of tapping into the whole Bucky Barnes Winter Soldier thing there. I guess trying to give him a little bit more of a resentment, I guess, as far as what was done to him. Maybe kind of wishing that the accident, maybe he'd been left to die instead of being kind of rebuilt like the way he was.
Yeah, he lost his arms, he lost his legs.
He's kind of a part robot.
Yeah, I was kind of playing on the whole bionic man thing.
Thing there, I can see that.
But he's a little unhinged, I guess. A bit of a wild card because of this. So he and Clark Albion kind of balance each other out, I guess, in that regard.
Well,
I don't know how you came up with all these interesting characters, but you sure did.
Well, like I said, I was based it on the whole Captain America as far as the different characters there, and just kind of
played off of them.
Took a lot of different elements from different things, and to create something different, new.
But the artwork is so beautiful. I mean, you say it's Kirby influence. I mean, we can see the Kirby influence. I also noticed the back cover here by Michael Nino.
Yeah.
And we just saw him at the last Space Con a few months ago. Yes. And it fits right in because the influences are the same. That's a great back cover, too.
Yeah. I commissioned Michael. I mean, he's a real good artist friend. I really esteem his work, and he's been really supportive of what I've been doing. So I definitely wanted him to do something, some art for me, to publish it like that.
No.
Yeah, we did a review of this in an episode, and I was commenting on the man catcher on the back
Well,
here.
Right.
yeah, yeah,
It was so interesting in the in the issues where it was used. The
yeah.
man catcher.
I originally saw that back when I was playing Dungeons and Dragons. There was one of these race of creatures that were shown using that, and it was just such a odd, quirky
Yeah,
device.
that's
So
great.
I thought I'd incorporate that in. So yeah,
Yeah,
I take things from different inspired from different sources that have interested me over the years. So
it sure all works together. That's for sure.
Yeah. Oh, we all have our influences,
yeah,
but ultimately it comes down to you. You're the guy. You got, a pen. You got a
And the
pen and
story.
ink, and you got the Bristol or whatever you're drawing on, and it ultimately you come out of it. You come out. Your influences may be there, but it's totally original. I was floored with these two issues. When I got this one, I just had to get the earlier one, the one from 2017. I wish I had those older issues. And you
Well,
got
if he does the compilation book, you can get that, and you'll be caught up.
absolutely. Yep. I'll be in front of the line for that one.
Would you ever consider going back to the digest size, black and white, or not?
probably not. I don't plan on it at this stage.
Yeah.
I really enjoy working with color
Mhm.
the way I have with these two.
How do you do your color?
I use GIMP. The computer's it's kind of a
Really?
poor man's Photoshop. It's freeware,
Yeah,
so
I have it. I couldn't. I had a hard time with that.
yeah, I had to watch some YouTube tutorials to
Yeah.
kind of get acclimated to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean it's really worked well for my purposes.
Oh, it looks great. Yeah.
I mean I
It
get
does.
get a very consistent flat color, and for my color palette I found a palette that supposedly Jack Kirby used, and I also sample from old comics that have been scanned, so I use that.
Mhm.
But yeah, I really like. I mean, back in the day when my first time making comics, that was the main way of going about it. You photocopy them like that and fold them and staple them and put them together like that. And
Yeah.
Right.
in the years since then, there's been so much development with services like Kablam, these specialty printers that will print, short run comics, print on demand like this.
Yeah.
In color, I mean, back in the day, you were really doing well if you could spring for a color cover.
Oh, I
Now
know.
now you can do a full color comic, that's fairly affordable. So yeah, this is, back when I was young, I had, like a lot of budding artists, I had, thought it'd be neat to work for, Marvel or DC,
Yeah.
Right.
but,
Yeah.
in the
I
years,
never.
in the years since, I know better, the way the business is run.
Yeah.
And this way, at least I can, make what I want and own it all. I mean,
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
don't have to bow to editorial dictates
That's the great thing about self-publishing. That's
or worry about what I make being owned by someone else.
Yeah. Do you ever look at the list of people that are involved in? There's one guy does the pencils, one guy does part of the inks, somebody else does part of the inks, somebody does the background. It's just, it's not like what we do at all.
Yeah.
Completely different.
I've thought, people have asked me about collaborating, that might help speed things up. I guess this whole thing is just kind of my own unique vision. I don't feel that if I tried to work with someone else, something may be lost in the process.
I don't think it would look the same, really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's beautiful. The coloring is beautiful. The artwork is gorgeous. You've got a very profound and fantastic adventure going here. I will say that some of us still kind of do the old the old-fashioned, old school, you know, like this is my new comic. I'm not here to promote it. I'm just saying that
That might come today, right, Steve?
Yeah.
Might be here
I
today.
sent you both a copy, so you'll have it
Yeah.
anytime now. But this
Yeah.
was Kinko's all the way, okay? But I have worked with Kablam, and Kablam is actually in downtown Atlanta. Their office, their main office, is just 5 miles from here.
I was amazed when you said you'd never been there when you told me that.
I never been there in person. I did it through
Oh
the
my
mail.
gosh!
Yeah, I'm so old school. I was out of small press for a long time. So when I got back in, everything had changed. The technology had advanced so much, and it's still going crazy now. It's just advancing so fast. And I said, well, I'm going to do it old school because that's what I'm used to. I even used to work at a print shop. I used to print my own comics. I used to paste them up and all that stuff. And but Kablam is nearby, and they did. I did a reprint of my first real small press comic, #1, that was published in 1973, and Kablam published that. So that one's still out there, and you know, I've still got copies of that. And of course, it's POD, so I'll always have copies of that, you know. But yeah, I admire you guys for keeping up with the technology. Okay, it does make a difference, and you come up with tremendous results like this. And well, this is in the first issue of Steppenwolf. That covers by Pat Gabriel.
No, that's
that cover.
A fellow from Mexico, Gerardo. I'm probably going to mispronounce his last name. It's Aguirre. He and his brother did some fantastic work. Very, very Kirby-esque. He surprised me with that. I mean, just out of the blue, he emailed me that stunning artwork, and of course, I had to use it. And that cover.
Nice surprise.
But yeah, he did some phenomenal work. He and his brother. That's by Pat or Angel Gabriel.
Okay.
That's the guy. He mentioned. Yeah.
Did he pass away?
Yeah, he passed away about 7 years ago now.
Okay.
But yeah. But yeah, he really helped me a lot as far as.
Great stuff.
Well, it all holds together, and even the other guys that contributed to the issue have that sort of Kirby influence, and it all fits right in. But it's not Kirby. It's Byron Black.
Yeah.
And it's unique. I mean, it's unique with the influences and everything else. It's unique. It's well done. As I said, it's a very profound book. Interesting. The pacing is perfect. The way you tell a story is perfect. I mentioned not too much dialogue.
You do have to pay attention. You can't be just casually looking at that. You got to pay attention.
Yeah, I'm a believer in in the old style of compressed storytelling. Where you try to pack a whole story into one issue or as few issues as possible, as opposed to the decompressed storytelling that seems so prevalent today, where the whole story can drag out over 6 to 12 issues. And,
right.
And, so yeah, I try to pack as much as I can into it, because it does take me a long time, like you noticed.
Yeah.
So I have to try and make it count for all, make it work for all it can.
I prefer less dialogue, more art in my comics. That's what I prefer.
Yeah,
if you can do it, and it's not easy, but if you can do it,
you try to let the
much better.
You try to let the art or the pictures tell the story.
Like Steve has said many times, you should be able to look at the pictures and get the story.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the old comics with all the narrative descriptions, but really, it's not. If you get down to it, it's really not necessary.
It just gets to a point where it can be clutter.
Right.
I remember Chris Claremont on X-Men, and he was a brilliant writer, but man, was he over wordy. I mean, you can still read those comics because you don't even need to look at the pictures. You can read it, but you shouldn't have
but
to
that's
read the
backwards.
dialogue to know what's going on,
Yeah.
or the
I
captions.
I told Steve before that when I was a little kid, I never read the comics. I just looked at the pictures.
Yeah,
That's what I
really
cared
are.
about. So that, all right, well, you got
Let me see.
anything more, Steve?
Let me see what we got here. I've
Okay.
always got something else.
I think you do.
Um,
I think you had more questions than I did.
okay, for instance, you mentioned the man catcher.
Yeah.
So that's not from the reboot. That's from the original series. Am I correct?
Right.
Yeah, I did. I did use it there, right?
Yeah. So, in what ways what did you leave out? What did you change? What makes the new series different from the old series?
I think it comes down a lot to the characterization. Just trying to, especially in regards to Steppenwolf, as far as trying to make him a little more consistent in his behavior. You know, I think in the reboot, I'm trying to make him a little more benign. He's misunderstood,
Yeah.
and rejected, but at the same time, despite whatever misgivings he might have about his treatment, he's trying to fix the problems that he was a part of causing.
Right.
Even though the world may not really appreciate him for that. You know, kind of, I've been noticing that in a lot of the Kirby monster comics of the early 60s, where he would have these monsters or aliens that everyone would be really afraid of, but they turn out that they're actually not evil, that they're misunderstood.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess, something along similar to that is what I'm trying to go for.
I could see that. I could see that in Steppenwolf already. Yeah.
And I think there's, in the conflicts that maybe are arising are more out of misunderstanding rather than anyone being sheer evil, because, I don't think that's usually the case in any time. So what I've got in mind with the next issue, I think we're going to see a lot of that come together.
That's what I was just going to ask you. What's your plans for?
I've got a premise worked out.
Yeah.
I'm just having to flesh out the details. So brainstorming. So
But that'll be released 2080?
Oh, I don't. Yeah.
It's okay. We can wait.
Yeah.
Nobody knows the day or the hour.
It's like waiting. It's like waiting for the next Avengers movie.
Oh,
yeah.
But it does happen eventually, and it's worth it. It's well,
being a one-man band, that's what tends to happen. So
yeah. Just the care that you put into making these comics, the thought, all of it definitely shows. I mean, you can see this is an excellent comic. One of the finest small press comics, if I'm going to call it small press, but alternative press series that I've ever read. So really enjoying that. As you go into the next issue, you keep the great conflagration continues to is mentioned here and there, and we see some stuff before the great conflagration and some stuff after,
early issues,
including the origin of Steppenwolf himself, and how he was kind of raised in a laboratory, or he's a well, anyway, you know what I'm talking about. They took a blood sample from.
Yeah, he got picked out of a stream, didn't he? He would go float along in that stream.
Yeah. So here we go.
Yeah, there he is. Little baby.
Well, I don't know how much I should give away there. It might be a little bit too much spoilers as far as.
Oh, okay. We don't want to ruin anything.
Yeah.
We're good at that.
But it was
the story is actually, I kind of revised an earlier story that Larned might be aware of from issue 0. I took that concept of the whole and just kind of went in a different direction with it.
See, See, that's something I probably didn't realize reading the newer books. I thought they were continuing completely from the first four.
Not
And
really.
I didn't quite grasp that these was changing the whole.
Yeah, I really went with a fresh start with this. It'd been so many years since the original series.
I didn't quite catch that, I guess, or didn't realize it.
But just after that much time, you have a different mindset.
Mm-hmm.
What you want, what do you want to do with the characters? So, yeah.
Yeah, well, the Steppenwolf himself, there was mentioned the legend of the somnolent outsider. Anyway, it's someone who's been placed in suspended animation, and I think this is, I'm not sure how this is pronounced, maybe it's Camelopardus.
Okay, well, that is actually not a name so much as an exclamation of surprise.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Now, this is probably, this is another Easter egg. That was something that I remember from a TV show when I was a kid called Space Academy, an old Filmation live action show on Saturday mornings.
Mm-hmm.
But there's this little alien boy on there named Loki that he would often exclaim that when he was surprised by something. Camelopardus.
Camelopardus.
Really?
Okay.
So, yeah, it's a real deep cut. If you're not familiar with the show, it might go right past you.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know. Yeah.
But yeah, I like to work in little things like that.
Has anyone told you they remembered that?
Yeah.
Not yet. Nobody.
No. Well, maybe 100 people that see this, they'll all know.
They'll know now.
It might jog some memories.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to the future. Is there any more notes here? Looking at Larna's notes, which are all in pencil, so I have to read them very carefully.
Yes. Very excellent pencil work.
Yeah, and so the original series was issues 0 through what?
1 and then 0.
1 and then 0?
Yeah.
And then 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
0 was kind of what would you call it?
That was kind of a big thing back there in the 90s. People would release an issue 0 after they've been working on a comic, especially if they're trying to use that as kind of a prequel.
Yeah. That's what I was trying to say. It's kind of what it is. Yeah.
I remember people doing that, but like the issue 0. How do I file this?
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not clever enough to do
but
that.
Not necessarily 0 could be the second one, whatever. But anyway. I wish I still had all the comics I had back then. 15 so years ago, I had a divorce, and I moved from one state to another. Then I moved back to here, and I mailed all my small press comics in boxes across the country. And during this process, at least 2 boxes were lost in the mail. 2 boxes of comics. Maybe someone might even be watching right now.
I think I have those. I'm pretty sure.
You got them? You got them?
Pretty sure.
Okay, yeah, send them back. There'll be
a charge for those.
Yeah. But that was one of the ones that was unfortunately lost, because I looked and looked and looked, and I've got everything in alphabetical order, and I just couldn't find it. But I do remember it. I do remember the cover very well, and it was a picture of Roland Steppenwolf himself right there on the cover. So,
I got it right here.
It might have been on gray stock. I'm not sure, but I do remember. And you were in the UFO at that time.
Yeah.
There he is.
I became acquainted with the world of small press. I met Max Inc.
Oh,
at a convention, and that's when I found out about the great work he and Nick Durga were doing with Amoeba Adventures. I mean, that was a great series back then, and it's kind of neat seeing Nick do that, continue with today. But from Max, I was kind of introduced to the UFO and got in with that group. Met Larned and Terry Flippo and Tony Lawrence and the others. So it was it was a real neat time.
That was interesting for
I
me.
think I discovered your book. I'm pretty sure it was in Tim Corrigan's Comics Explosion.
A small
I know
comic explosion or
Pretty
comics.
sure that's where it was.
Yeah, I know he reviewed a couple of issues.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's how I got it. Did you know Tim at all, or correspond with him?
I never actually met him. I just I'm not sure how I became acquainted with him. I know I think I maybe submitted some of my comics for review in his zine.
Everybody did.
But yeah, I think that might have been the extent
Small
of
press
it.
comics explosion, yeah.
Yeah, I think that was, yeah.
I attended Space with him maybe 3 years in a row, and we got a table next to each other and all that. He was just a great guy, really was.
Yeah.
But just so you know, there is a reprint of a Tim Corrigan strip.
I saw that. I was going to
to
say that's Tim Corrigan. Yeah.
That's Tim. He did he used to do something towards the end here. He used to do something called one-sheet comics, where he'd take one sheet of paper, fold it in half, and create a 4-page comic. And so this one just happened to feature one of my characters.
Beacon. That's your
character,
right?
And you've drawn the Beacon as well.
Yeah.
So the Beacon's been around for 50 years.
Oh.
He's not as old as I am, but he's pretty old. Yeah. So,
are you, Byron, are you working or are you retired or?
No, I still work full time.
Do you? Oh, not too bad.
I'm a librarian, so.
Oh,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
So that means you're well read.
Lots
You've
of
read
books
a lot
there.
of books.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I wish I had more time to read than I do.
All right. I think that's about all the questions that we have at this time.
We've pretty much done it. We try to hold the show to an hour because it takes so long. I was telling Byron it takes so long to upload a 1-hour video. It takes forever, and I don't know why, but it does. So it takes me 2 days to edit these things.
Oh.
I want to recommend to everyone out there.
Oh yeah,
it's an awesome comic book series in full color, a great production, great artwork, and an amazing story.
Amazing story. Yeah.
Check out the Steppenwolf Chronicles. I'm sure Larned will put the information, the ordering info down below.
I will. Yeah, we'll have all that in the contact information. So
I'm very glad and honored you guys like it.
Oh, thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. Yeah.
Oh, no problem. No problem. All right, I'm going to hit end record, and we'll see everybody next time. And we'll have our standard review next time. We've already got a number of comics to review. Not necessarily review, we call it promote. And so our next episode will be coming up fairly soon. So, take it easy.
Thanks, Byron. Thanks for coming on board.
Thanks, Byron.
Thank you. Thank you.